is also said by Lord Krishna, and the sloka goes like this. Vasamsi jirnani yatha vihaya navani grihnati naroparani तथा शरीराणि विहाय जीर्णा अन्यानि संयाति नवानि देहि. So that is the sloka. So this is also, it's a continuation of the last, kind of continuation of the discussion that we had in the last sloka. The meaning is, I'll first read the meaning. Just as a man casts off worn out clothes and puts on new ones, so also the embodied self casts off worn out bodies and enters others that are new. See, it's kind of similar to what we talked last time, right? So what the sloka is saying is that just like people take off old clothes and put on new clothes, same with the soul. The soul will discard bodies which are no longer useful and enter bodies that are new. So that's the meaning of this sloka. Now, what is the pratipadartha? That means every word's meaning. So vasamsi means garments. Those are the clothes. So vasa means residing, right? Srinivasa means Sri is Lakshmi Devi, Vasa means resides. So on whom Lakshmi resides is called Srinivasa. So Vasamsi means the clothes in which we reside. So they're basically garments. Jirnani means, jirna is a very typical Indian word. Jirna means digested, which is old and worn out. In this case, you can take it as old and worn out, right? Yadha means just as. Yadha Raja Tadha Praja. There's a saying in Sanskrit. Yadha means just as. Yadha Raja means just as the king, so as his people. Yadha Raja means just as the king. Tadha Praja means so as the people. Praja means people. So Yadha means just as. Vihaya, giving up. Right? You discard or give up. That is called Vihaya. Navani is again a common word in Indian languages. It means new. Navavarsha means new year. Right? Nava is commonly used. So it means, in this context, it is new garments. Grihnati means does accept. Grihnati means accept. Gruhyatam. I think we came across this word, the Gruhyatam or something, right, in the past. Oh, that's in the next future sloka. Okay, never mind. So Grihnati means accept. Nara means, you all know, Arjuna is the Nara and Krishna is the Narayana, right? Nara means a man. Aparani means others. Para means others, right? Tadha means in the same way. We already talked about Yadha Raja, Tadha Praja, right? Just like the king, so as it his people. So Tadha means in the same way. Sharirani means bodies. Sharira, you all know in Indian languages is body, right? So Sharirani means bodies. Vihaya again means giving up. Jirnani. So we are repeating those words. Jirnani, Vihaya. Those are coming again because the first time we use those words for clothes and this time we are using for bodies. So Jirnani means old and useless. Anyani means different. Samyati means readily accepts. Navani, again the same word is getting repeated. New sets. Dehi. Last sloka, we came across this word called Dehi, right? What is Dehi? Body, the embodied. So those are the words. Easy words, right? If you know any Indian language, you can easily make out the meaning of this sloka. It's very easy. But it has a very deep meaning, just like the previous sloka. So what it means is that, see, we uh, we we collect a lot of clothes, right? Now you grow up. What do you do with those clothes which are no longer fitting you? You're just going to discard them. So you might give it to some, what do you call that? Salvation Army, some charities, or you might just do something else with it. But you basically discard it. So just like you discard garments, the soul, which is really the you are really the soul, not the body. You should always associate yourself with the soul, with something that continues forever, not with the body which disappears. So when you associate yourself with the soul and not the body, you tend to do better things. You tend to improve yourself, right? Mahatma Gandhi once said, uh, "Learn as if you will live forever, and uh, spend as if you are going to die tomorrow." Something like that is there. Uh, um, so he wanted us to learn as if we are going to live forever. So that means the soul, that is true also, because the soul is going to live forever. It might discard one body. See, just like you discard clothes which are no longer useful to you, which are no longer fitting you, or which are torn, which are worn out, you are discarding them, right, without any problem. The same way the soul discards the used bodies. When the person becomes old, heart starts beating weakly, his brain starts functioning less. All his parts slowly they become worn out, right? And uh, the body becomes useless. So suppose if the heart in the body does not function, then the body cannot move. I mean, the blood doesn't circulate. So what is the point in the soul staying in such a body? The body which cannot do anything at all. Um, so the soul has to discard that body for whatever reason. The body is not functioning. So the other reason could be that there's a cancer which has eaten away a lot of internal um, parts. So the body is useless. The soul has to move on, find a new body. So if we associate with the soul, we will not feel bad about this process of discarding the old body and getting a new body. So just like you don't feel bad when you discard old clothes and buy new clothes, right? In fact, you are very happy when you buy new clothes, um, and you discard old clothes. So same thing here. The soul simply discards the bodies which are mutilated, which are no longer useful, and takes on the new body. So that's what Lord Krishna is saying. So when this is the case, why do you even grieve? So that is one way to look at it. Arjuna should not be grieving, or should not be feeling bad about life. He just has to do the duty, right? That's what Lord Krishna is conveying. And the other meaning, that there are many meanings that you can draw. I mean, like Vedas, right? Vedas are very cryptic. You can draw a number of meanings from the Vedas. Superficially, they may not look really powerful. But when you start analyzing the meaning and going deeper and deeper, it it gives you a lot of deep meaning. The Vedas, that's why they are called very cryptic. They are said to be very cryptic. So this sloka also has a lot of conclusions that you can draw. So one is that we should not feel bad about life and death. We should just do our duties. If the duty is to kill the bad people, then yes, we will have to do that. If the duty is to learn, we have to learn. If the duty is to see, these days you see a lot of people getting like in the school that I was studying, where I was doing my PhD. There was a person who was, I think, 65 years old. During his graduation, he gave a talk, and he clearly said, "See, I'm 65 years old. I'm still working for my PhD." So that is the kind of learning. He's an American. He doesn't even know all these slokas. I'm pretty sure because he also talked a little bit about his background that time. I still remember those days. But still, see, he continued his learning until he was 65, and probably he's going to learn further as well. So there's no end to learning. That's what Mahatma Gandhi also said. Why should there be no end to the learning? Because the learning stays with you. Learning is pure knowledge, and pure knowledge stays in your soul. Just that it's a bit rusty, just like you are a bit rusty on certain things that you did many years back, right? So when you are like 3 years old or 4 years old, you remember it vaguely, but it's a bit rusty in your mind. So when you dust the rust, you remember immediately. Oh yeah, that's right. You can quickly uh, get to the point uh, compared to others who don't have any background. The same thing with the soul. If you put a lot of knowledge into it, the moment, I mean, some kids are very good at math. Some kids are like in when I was doing my PhD, there was math is very important for engineering PhDs, right? So there was a classmate, there was a student in my class. Both of us were taking the same class. He had a very difficult time with math. So that was unusual because engineers who have come this far are typically good in math, but he had a lot of difficulty. Maybe the math that he studied was not to the extent that was covered in the course that I took for his PhD. But whatever, he had very difficult time. We could understand things easily, but he could not. So why is that? So it's because of the past knowledge. Uh, Several births before, if you were used to learning, Vedas also have a lot of math, Vedic mathematics. There's a lot of math in Vedas. If there is time, we will cover that maybe sometime in future. But the Vedas also have a lot of math embedded, again, very cryptic math. Um, Particularly number theory. There's a lot about number theory in Vedas. So if somebody was learning Vedas, then he would be good in math also, and then that carried forward through the lives, right? So knowledge is will always stay with you. Your knowledge, your actions, every action gives you some knowledge, right? Every action, whatever you do, it gives you some knowledge. So, for instance, you go biking on the streets. You collect a lot of knowledge. You collect knowledge about the traffic signals. You collect knowledge about how to avoid bumps and a lot of things. Everything that you do has knowledge. So that pure knowledge is going to stay with you. The impressions that you collect. And also any negative effects and the positive effects also stay with you. Suppose somebody does theft, that feeling stays with him. The feeling of see there like in our culture, they describe some vyasanas. 8, I think, 8 vyasanas. Vyasanas are like addictions, and one of the addiction is theft. So if somebody steals, then they get into the habit of stealing. So if you look at in some countries, there's a lot of corruption. Why is there corruption? They already have lots and lots of money. Like when we went to Vietnam, the guide said that he showed us a colony and said that they are all government houses. Then I asked him, how much do the houses cost? He said, according to the US dollar, US currency, they might be around $1 million. That this is long back. Then I said, government employees, how can they do it? So, so they have a lot of money, but some people still want more and more money. The greed. So greed also is one of the addictions, or not addictions, but it's one of the arishad vargas. It's one of the bad qualities. The bad qualities, addictions. This you should stay away from. You should run away from these kind of things. So one is greed. The other is um, uh, what is the other one? The addiction, like theft. So these people, they earn money. Some people earn money through bad means, and they get addicted to it. Although they earn a lot, because they are addicted to stealing money, they continue to keep on doing it, even though they don't need that money. So it's an addiction. So these kind of addictions not just stay in your body, but they get into the soul also. The addictions and the bad qualities, they get into the soul also. So there are, I think, 8 addictions and also 8 bad qualities. So we should run away from those qualities and those addictions. We should stay as far as possible from those addictions. Um, so prevention is better than cure when it comes to these addictions. So stealing is one, then getting used to substances which influence your mind. Like, I mean, you're too young to understand those things, but when you grow, you will see that some people and some students get into bad habits. So we should stay away from such habits as much as possible. The moment you see something like that, you should tell yourself, no way I'm going there, because addictions are very strong, right? Um, so we'll talk about addictions probably in one of the next future slokas. But you are still small, so you don't have to worry about it. But remember, bad qualities in general, bad qualities are addictive. Like you take watching TV, that's really bad. I mean, once in a while, if you watch for knowledge, it's fine. But if you watch it as a habit, then it is bad for you, and it becomes an addiction. You cannot get away from it easily. You feel doing the same thing again and again, and that addiction is actually laziness. That will inculcate laziness in you. It doesn't stop with watching TV, but it continues in other forms. Like you don't feel like doing something that makes you active. You don't feel like eating substances which make you active, like fresh fruits and fresh vegetables. You may not even like those things if you get used to these kind of easygoing habits. So you should, the first thing you should do is to stay away from it. Prevention is always better than cure when it comes to these things. So the other thing that you should note is that we should always associate with long term, right? So for instance, I gave this speech in Toastmasters Club and I won an award for this. Not because of, I think I got that award because there were other presenters who did excellent. But I think I got the award because of the meaning I conveyed. The meaning I conveyed is like you take stocks, maybe stocks or shares, company shares. or maybe you may not understand it much. But suppose you take an example of suppose you are going to a school. You started going to a school, and you know that the school is going to close completely in 1 week. The school is running into losses, and it is going to close in, say, maybe not 1 week, but 1 month. Would you continue in that school? No, right? Because there's no point. So same thing with this. This body is going away after, we don't know when it is going away. Maybe after 100 years, maybe after 20 years, maybe after 1 year, or maybe after 1 day. We never know. We are so do you invest in, or do you like to continue associating yourself with the body, which can disappear anytime? No, right? So body is just a tool for us, tool for the soul. See, without the body, you cannot meditate, for instance, right? Without the body, you cannot attend these classes. You are attending so many classes. You're really very fortunate to attend so many classes, right? During when I was a child, we did not have access to school was the only thing that we knew. 9 to 3, 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock. School was the only thing that we knew at your age. But now you have so many classes that you can attend. So if without a body, you cannot do all these nice things, collecting, gaining knowledge and all that stuff, right? So you should think of body as a tool, but you should not associate yourself with the body itself. So you should not, oh, I'm feeling great about eating ice cream. I will continue, I will eat more of ice cream, or I will eat more sugary stuff. So this kind of feelings arise because you associate with the body. Or for that matter, I want to watch TV because you feel good. Your mind feels good watching TV because it doesn't have to do anything. So that's basically you're catering to the body and not to the soul. So you should always associate with the long-term thing, and which is the soul, not the body. You should think of accumulating knowledge. You should think of accumulating good impressions and things like that, but not short-term gains, right? Um, so, and the other example is Sanskrit, right? Sanskrit existed forever. We are seeing that it was spoken by the gods, right? Lord Krishna, Rama, they all spoke Sanskrit. Sanskrit is the language of gods. So it always existed. It is eternal, and today also it is existing. When I was a small child, I don't know if it is still continuing in India, but when I was a small child, we used to get a program in the morning about Sanskrit lessons. So they were for, I think, 15 minutes or 30 minutes, I don't remember, but we used to get those lessons in Sanskrit. And I think today, even now, I think they read news in Sanskrit. So Sanskrit existed eternally. So we should try to associate with Sanskrit more, right? So Sanskrit is another example which is eternal. Knowledge is eternal. So these are the things we should try to associate with. These have stayed forever. We should try to associate with those things. Another example. These days, a lot of children and lot of adults want to stay awake till late in the night. They don't like to fall asleep because there's something exciting going on the TV, or chatting or games, or there's a lot of stuff to do which keeps you excited and you don't like to go to bed. So that is again because you're catering to the body and not to the soul. The knowledge, if you associate with the soul will immediately tell. It's like you're driving you should think of the body as a car, right? Now, if the dashboard shows that the engine is getting heated up, will you continue to drive? No, same thing with the soul. To the soul, The body is like a car. So the moment it understands that the body, you would have noticed this. I don't know if you got a chance to notice it or not, but your body starts becoming weak as the day progresses. Towards the night, the body becomes really weak. You can do some experiments on this. Your mind also becomes weak, your body also becomes weak. So the soul can get a sense of it, particularly if you do meditation and all that and connect to the soul and give importance to the soul. You can start sensing when the body is in trouble, right? And then you can, just like the driver stops the engine when the engine heats up, then the soul in us will warn us that the body is becoming weak, it needs to sleep now, and you will automatically go to sleep. But if you give importance to the body, then you feel excited. Oh, I can watch TV. There's something exciting going on the TV. I don't want to sleep now, and things like that. So that is the difference between body and soul. If you connect with your soul, you'll automatically do good things always. It's like the driver and the car, right? You don't damage the car on purpose, right? You try to take care of the car very nicely, but at the same time, you don't like to um, let the car have its own way, right? Your body, your mind, your eyes, your everything wants to watch TV because something exciting is going on. You cannot allow to do the soul should not allow the body to do have its own way, just like the driver doesn't allow the car to have its own way, right? The soul is like the driver of the car, and the car is like the body. So always remember this. And you can sense the body when you meditate. In fact, in meditation, one of the things that you do is you start sensing your own body. So you focus on your fingers, you focus on your palm, next you focus on your forearms. So that's one of the techniques of meditation, one of the ways you do meditation. So you connect with the body and the soul. You unite the body, the soul. That is meditation, mindfulness. So there is, you would have, so now by now you can easily see that there's always a conflict between, um, there's often a conflict between what the body wants to do and what the soul wants to do. Most of the time you ignore the soul. You don't even sense the soul. You just go the way the body takes you. Just like uh, the driver just letting the car go the way it wants to go, right? So, there's often a conflict between the body and the soul, and if the people who are mindful can easily sense that conflict and make right decisions. Also, there is a conflict in a broader sense. There's always a conflict between short-term needs and the long-term needs. So the long-term needs, what are your long-term needs? You want your body for a long time. You don't want your body to get cancer and things like that, right? We want our body to stay for as long as possible in a very fit manner. So that is the long-term goal. But short-term goal, if you deprive the body of the sleep, today there are so many cancer cases. During my dad used to say that uh, yeah, I mean, in general, in olden days, my dad used to give this example, but in olden days, cancer was called as Rachakurupu. That means it used to come only for the kings. Because kings used to have a very stressed life. They have a lot of, I mean, imagine the life of a king in olden days. The kingdoms can be attacked by outsiders. Today there's a lot of peace, but in olden days that was not the case. Kings could get attacked by outsiders, and there could be some revolt inside the country. So it's a very stressful job being a king, right? So cancer used to impact mostly the kings in olden days. But My dad used to say that. See, it used to impact only the kings those days, but these days we see even common man getting impacted, right? Why? Why is that? Because people are troubling their bodies. They are stressing their bodies needlessly. If you deprive sleep, what is going to happen? Your body is already becoming weak. Your mind is becoming weak towards the end of the day. You deprive sleep, then what's going to happen? Its resistance power will go down. It cannot fight the germs inside. And that's what causes cancer. When your body is not able to fight, and the same thing with coronavirus, right? Some people, even at the age of 80, Amitabh Bachchan, he's 77-year-old and he survived coronavirus, right? So some people are able to survive because he has very good habits. He caters to the soul. He's a pure vegetarian, and he keeps on updating his knowledge. He's very active. So these are kind of things that make your soul happy, not the body but the soul. See, eating just vegetarian stuff, no non-vegetarian. So it makes your soul happy, but your body may not like it because your body likes to.
Sattvic food.
Sorry, what is that?
Sattvic food.
Yeah, sattvic food. Vegetarian food is sattvic food. So when you associate yourself with the soul, you would eat sattvic food, like vegetarian stuff, fresh stuff, not things stored in the freezer and stuff like that. So fresh food, healthy food, vegetarian food. So that's what your soul would like, right? So there's always this conflict between short-term and long-term needs. Short-term needs deprives sleep. That means you don't want to go to sleep. You stress your body and all that. That is short-term gain. You just want to feel happy that particular hour or that particular minute, but you are not thinking in the long term. The long term, sleep is best because you will get the resistance to fight the germs, right? Um, so always good habits. You will get into good habits when you associate. Another example, there is this concept of couch potato. It's a very recent concept in the sense that it was not there when I was a child, probably, or maybe it was there when I was a child, but before that it wasn't there. It all started with this TV. There are many people who spend most of their lives watching TV and become a couch potato. They just lie down on the couch, and they're as good as vegetable, right? So they are called couch potatoes. So that is one aspect of that. That is one way to live the life, and the other way to live the life is being active mentally, physically. Um, go for exercises in the morning. Get up and jog. Of course, these days we cannot jog outside because of the coronavirus threat, but do exercises inside the home. So this is another kind of life. So obviously, being a couch potato, the person is catering to his body but not to his soul, right? Whereas doing physical exercise and being active caters to the soul. So you see the difference between short term and the long term. So those are the kind of differences that we should be looking for in our day-to-day lives, and make sure that we associate with the long-term goals. Now, this sloka has, of course, reiterates the essence of the previous sloka. It repeats the essence of the previous sloka. It says that death and rebirth are continuous, just like changing dresses. I mean, you leave one dress and put on another dress. Just like that, the soul leaves the mutilated body, which is destroyed by cancer, the cancer germs, or which is become weak and the heart is no longer able to function. It will discard those kind of bodies and go into a new body. So that is another meaning from this sloka. But what is the other meaning that you can take from this concept? So just like you know what you are going to wear next, right? when you take off your clothes, you know what you're going to wear next, right? You put it aside, make it ready, keep it ready, and then you get off, take off the clothes. The same thing with the soul. The soul knows where it will go, kind of knows where it is going to go when when it discards the old. How does it know? Based on the impressions accumulated inside the soul, right? All the impressions, all the desires, all those things in the soul make it choose a body where it should go next, right? So it's a continuous process. So that is another conclusion that we can draw from this sloka. Now, another conclusion that we can draw is, suppose there are no impressions at all. The whole life was spent in meditating and removing all impressions, erasing all impressions, like Buddha did. Lord Buddha did exactly that. He visited all his past lives, looked at all the impressions that the soul had, and cleared them off. He did not, just like you clean a cloth with soap and water, he cleaned his soul of all the impressions, right? And it did not take too long for that, 13 days, or I don't remember, it just a matter of a few days, he did all this. He removed all his impressions. So that is the reason why we consider him as an incarnation of the God, right? After Krishna, we consider Lord Buddha as the God, God's incarnation. So he was born as a human being, and he showed us how we can reach God. He reached God, and he told us how we can reach God also. By taking a human life, he showed us how to do that through meditation, right? So suppose somebody was continuously doing meditation and making sure that the soul is not accumulating impressions. That's it. There are no impressions accumulated, and will directly go to the God. The soul will directly get into the God. So the goal of life is basically to stay happy. Happy in the sense not bodily happiness, but the happiness that the soul has. The soul is always happy. Only thing is we don't associate with the soul. That's why we feel all the sorrowness. Like Arjuna is feeling here. Arjuna is sad because he is not looking at the soul. He is looking only at the bodies in the other side of the arm. Right? He is not looking at the souls. If he looked at the souls, if he associated himself with the soul, or if he associated others with their souls, then he would not even feel bad about it. Right? Um, so we need to stay happy. That means associate. See, when you learn new things, you're happy. Do you feel that way? You're happy. So the same thing. When you do good things, you feel happy. That is not the happiness that we get from eating our favorite food or doing our favorite things and the favorite. Those things, the desires, um, becoming happy through desires, that's not going to make you happy for long. Because remember, that kind of happiness is like a pendulum. It's like a simple harmonic motion. If you are happy, you will also feel equally sad sometime later. Happiness, sadness. This keeps on going. But if you associate with the happiness of the soul, it is called bliss. The soul is always in a bliss, just like God, right? It's always in a bliss. So if you associate with the bliss, then uh, there's another sloka in Bhagavad Gita itself, which says that um, you need to stay afloat on our thoughts. So what happens in coronavirus? The person is drowning. Why does a person die out of for if he contracts coronavirus? The person is dying because he is drowning in his own fluid. The death from coronavirus is basically like drowning. So what is happening is when somebody drowns in a swimming pool, what happens? The water goes into his lungs and he's not able to breathe. And when the person is not able to breathe, the life ends, right? Because breath is a very important thing, just like your heartbeat. For everything, you need oxygen. Everything inside the body, you need oxygen. And if you can't get oxygen, your body dies. So the same thing is happening in coronavirus. The person is not drowning from the outside liquid, but is drowning from the liquid produced inside his body. See how sad it is? The body produces liquid as a defense mechanism to fight the coronavirus, and it fills up the lungs, and that's how the person is not able to breathe, and he eventually dies out of because of coronavirus. So the same thing is happening to people dying because of depression. So they are drowning in their own thoughts because they keep on associating themselves with the bodies. Every pain they sense through the body, they take it to the soul, and the thoughts keep on coming one after the other, one after the other, one after the other, and eventually the person drowns in his own thoughts, and it doesn't feel like living anymore, right? That is depression. It doesn't feel like living anymore because of the sadness in the thoughts. Thoughts keep on coming, sad thoughts keep on coming and coming and coming. He drowns. So, so just like a person is drowning in swimming pool, how do we help a person drowning in a swimming pool? By giving a hand, right? Like when you just give your own hand to pull that person out from the swimming pool. So there is a need for an external help when somebody is drowning. So that's what is happening for coronavirus patients also, right? They are being put on ventilators to provide some kind of help. But there are also programs to help people who are deep into their thoughts, uh, who drown into their own thoughts, sad thoughts. But those programs and those medicines are not all that healthy. But if you approach Bhagavad Gita, remember the very first sloka, we said that Bhagavad Gita is like our mother. Amba, the sloka said Amba, right? So just like you approach your mother when you are in trouble, same thing when you are small, right? When you are in trouble, you approach your mom or dad to help you, and your mom or dad helps you. Like you're crying for a long time, your mom says, tries to get you out of that sad feelings, right? The same thing Bhagavad Gita does. It will pull you out of those saddening thoughts. So that is the reason why it is very important to approach the God or his words or his life when you are in trouble. So examples of depression are the main sign of depression is when you feel sad for a long time. You're not able to come out of that feeling of sadness for a long time, maybe 1 hour, 2 hours. If it is more than 1 or 2 hours, then I strongly suggest that you should read something, um, read something about the God's words like Bhagavad Gita or God's life like Ramayana, and take inspiration from that. So there's a comment on the chat. While sleeping not, some problem accumulates in the body. The digestion system does not work properly, and you get tummy ache. So that is an example of bad state. So yeah, that is another uh, branch of knowledge. I would think it is still connected to all this, but some directions. See, even in math, there is a concept called eigenvectors, which is very frequently used in machine learning. Eigenvectors. What eigenvectors say is that there is a particular direction which a certain set of numbers like. It's an interesting concept. If possible, I'll try to cover it later. But it's a very interesting concept. There is directions have a lot of power. Like why does the magnet stop in north-south pole, north-south direction? So the directions make a lot of sense. So our Vedas told the same fact in a different way. It's a little cryptic way. They don't clearly say that north, south, and all that, but they tell it in a slightly cryptic way. But the essence that you should take from this is that direction is an important, very powerful aspect in life, in the world, in the universe. So when you study eigenvectors, when you study linear algebra and vector algebra, you will come across this concept of eigenvectors. So in that eigenvectors concept, you'll come to know that a set of numbers has a favorite direction. We'll come to that if possible in future class. So yeah, knowledge is really makes you really happy. You spend more and more time in knowledge. You really see most of the professors, the salary they get is really very meager. Typically, a person, if a professor cannot live on his own salary by himself, right? It's so bad. But still, it's very difficult to become professors. Why? Why do people prefer to become professors? Because they get to spend the rest of their life in knowledge. They're respected. They get to spend their time in knowledge. So knowledge, that is the kind of happiness we should get acquainted with. Then there is no problem at all. But when you cater to the body needs of the body, that's when the problem starts. I mean, needs of the body you should still cater, right? Like it's getting dark and you need to sleep. You need to sleep. That is catering to the body. That is needed, just like the driver caters to the car. But you cannot let the car go on its own, right? You have to take control, take control. That is very important. Even if the car is self-driving, you have to program it, how the car should go, where it should go. The micro instructions you don't have to give, but the macro instruction, the bigger picture you have to give. Where should the car drive you, and whether the car should avoid freeways, whether the car should avoid street. So all those parameters you set. You still are in control, just that the car takes the micro steps. So same thing, the soul. Micro steps is fine, but macro steps, things which are really important. So for instance, the self-driving car may not realize that of course, these days the cars have so many sensors, they are very intelligent, they can take care of themselves. But there are certain things that they cannot take care. So that's when the driver or whoever is in control should come in and do the due diligence, do the needed stuff. The same thing with the soul and body. So your soul should do what is good for body, but it should not give in to the body. That is the important aspect from this sloka. Um, So the goal should be to be afloat or to float on our thoughts, not to get deep into you can get in deep into the thoughts, but again, you should be able to come out of it. So you should be able to, just like swimming, right? When you dive into the pool, you go into the waters, but you also know how to come up and float on the water. So that is how it should be. Life should be. Although you go deep into your thought, you should be able to come back quickly. Um, so in another example, right, of technology, I don't think we have time to cover machine learning today, but we will cover a very simple example of computers. You are using computers right now, right? Is there only one program running in the computer? What are some of the programs that are running on the computer typically? The browser and what other programs do you open in the laptop or Chromebook? Yeah, you open the Word, you might try to write a Word document, or you could do, you could open a, what do you call, another application. There are so many applications, right? You downloaded K12 app. So you could have, you may be opening the K12 app. So there are so many apps. So all these run together, right, at the same time, right? See, we are running WebEx, we are running PowerPoint. This is PowerPoint, right? Presentation. So we are running a PowerPoint. We are doing all this. So is the computer stuck in any single process? No, it is able to switch between processes. So a few microseconds, it works on PowerPoint. The next few microseconds, it works on a browser. The next few seconds, it works on the WebEx app. So it switches between all the apps without any partiality, without any bias. It doesn't get stuck in anywhere. The mind should also be like that. It should always stay afloat, your own thoughts. Thoughts are like basically programs running in your mind. You should be able to switch between thoughts. You should not get stuck in any particular thought without having control over it. Sometimes some programs need better attention, right? So, for instance, another example is your internet connection that is coming to your home. There's so much going on. There's a class going on. There's somebody is watching YouTube downstairs. There's somebody else doing something else, attending another class probably. So the internet traffic is distributed across all these things, right, at the same time. But suppose if all the internet bandwidth, the pipe, the internet pipe, if all that information that is coming in the pipe is only for one application, say YouTube, then we will not be able to conduct the class, right? So same thing. There, the bandwidth is distributed across multiple applications and multiple devices, but certain applications may need more bandwidth, more attention. Like for instance, YouTube or audio, video, and this WebEx meeting. These are important applications, because if there is a discontinuity, then it spoils the entire show, right? Whether it's YouTube or you're watching a movie, there's a very serious scene going on, and the internet connection drops for your application, and the internet connection comes to me. What happens? You feel bored. I mean, that's not good, right? So you can prioritize some applications. So you can give importance to some thoughts for a longer time, but you should know how to come back from that thought immediately. So that is an important skill that you should develop as you grow. You should be able to control your thoughts. You should always stay afloat on your thoughts, right? That's how you remain happiness. See, the American Constitution says that pursuit of happiness is one of the goals, right? We pursue happiness. So, not the happiness of the body, but the happiness of the soul. It should be our pursuit. Our Vedas and our culture goes a step beyond the definition of happiness. Our happiness, say the happiness that is defined in our culture also says that we should pursue happiness, but not the bodily happiness, but the knowledge, the happiness that comes through knowledge and catering to the soul, associating with the soul, right? Okay, it is 8 o'clock. I think we'll stop here, and we'll probably continue in the next class. Okay, let us end with the sloka. Right? Yeah.